So hi everyone, I see a lot of you are already online and waiting for this webinar to start. Thank you so much for joining Knowledge at upGrad data science webinar on how to leverage data science and data scientists to reinvent your organization. Today we have Mr. Aravind Dudipala who will take us through this topic and help us understand how to leverage and understand about what is data science and how data scientists can help in reinventing the organization. So Arvind, over to you.
Hey Bhageshri, thank you so much for the initial introduction. Hello everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is, based on the time zone from where you are joining. And I would like to welcome you all to the webinar, and I would like to thank you all for joining the webinar. All right. So first of all, let me start the webinar with a little introduction to my profile. As you see on the screen, my name is Aravind Dudipala, and I have got close to 16 years of experience into IT, and I have worked in different domains. In this data science domain, I have 8 years of experience, and from the beginning of my career, I have been working as a developer. I have been working as a trainer, a consultant, and at times I've also worked as subject matter expert for data science and some other technologies also. And if I have to talk a bit about the kind of domains that I have worked in, I was majorly into manufacturing domain, and I was also into insurance, banking domain for a while, and recently I also worked in this water management domain, which was basically into cleaning the swimming pools and everything with the robots, and how AI can be implemented over there. So this is a brief introduction to my profile, guys. So, guys, let's move forward. In the first place, I would like to talk a bit about the agenda for today's session. Okay. The agenda for today's session is we want to understand how to leverage data science and data scientists to reinvent your organization, because nowadays majority of the organizations are planning to set up their own data science wing, right? So how can they leverage data science? I mean to say, like, at what all levels they can make use of the data science technology, and also if already there are some data scientists in the organization, or if you're planning to get some people on board for the future kind of thing, then how are you going to leverage those data scientists so that you can reduce the attrition rate and all of that in your organization? So basically the topic for today's session is that. So Taukir, are you clear in terms of what is the agenda for today's session? Not just Taukir, this question is to everybody, so everybody can respond through the chat window, or as I told you, you can open your mic and you can share your experiences here, right? So Taukir, are we good to go? Can we move on?
Yeah, good for me.
Yep, great. So this is a bit about my introduction, right? And if any one of you could relate to my, the domains where I have worked, then you can feel free to talk to me. Maybe that could be now, or maybe towards the end when I'm going to take up the Q&A question, Q&A, a part of it, right? Now, the objective, as I told you, is to understand how to leverage data science and data scientists to reinvent, the organizations where you are working, right? So the agenda for today's session is that, and I wanted to talk a little more about this. I basically thought of breaking down this session into 3 parts. The first thing is we will understand how to leverage data science in your organization, and the second part would be how to leverage data scientists in your organization, and the third one is the ultimate one, gradually, eventually how can you become a data driven organization. So this is what we are going to discuss in today's session. So the first part is about leveraging data science, and the second part is about leveraging data scientists, and the third one is about how to become a data driven organization, and how can KnowledgeHut help you guys become a data driven organization. So we will go this way. So the very first thing is, let's try to understand a bit about data science. So Taukir, or anybody in the session, let's try to talk a bit about what data science is, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, probably majority of the population nowadays, they already started experiencing data science in a day-to-day activity. So Taukir, can you come up with 1 or 2 instances, or 1 or 2 situations, or in your day-to-day activities where are you already using AI and data science or machine learning? So do you remember any such applications, okay?
Yeah, I mean, from the work that we did,
Okay,
because the
let me just,
information.
okay, sorry for the interruption, but what I mean to say is, it's not on a work front or something. In general, like, in a day-to-day activity, like, at a personal level, or, in anything, like, do you think already we got used to data science? Are we using some applications of it in a day-to-day activity is my question.
Yeah, I think so. So, one that sticks to mind for me is when we are on a website and you're, registering a new account or something like that, and you
Mm-hmm.
get things like captchas coming up, for example, select
Captures
what
coming up.
looks like what looks like a car. For me, that is essentially mass supervised learning. Essentially, that's where you are flagging and labeling data as what it is, for example.
Great,
So
great, great.
I
Okay,
see.
that's really fantastic, and that is one thing. But still, you are talking about little complicated ones. Are you able to recollect anything, at a very simple level, like in a day-to-day life activity? Do you use Alexa or something? Alexa or Apple Siri or something like that? Are you used to
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Amazon Alexa. So Alexa is nothing but a virtual voice assistant kind of thing, right? In a day-to-day activity, majority of the people are using it. Don't you think that's an application of artificial intelligence, wherein natural language processing and a bit of deep learning and everything is used there to develop that particular application? Do you agree with me, Tauki?
yeah, yeah.
and
That's
and
right.
also as simple as, like, maybe on the weekends when we have time, we would like to watch some movies or, like, some web series or anything. So for that we might go to this Prime Videos or, like, Netflix or some other platforms wherein you wanted to see something. But as soon as you open your application, it keeps on recommending you something, right? Have you ever noticed that? Probably if you have watched some web series, like, which is related to crime or something, then the next recommendations would be mostly on in that particular genre, right? Do you agree? And even if you open YouTube or, like, in any short video application or something, surprisingly you keep on getting the recommendations which are based on your interest. So don't you think these are some applications of AI which we started already experiencing in our day-to-day life? Do you agree, okay, can I say that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, and also as simple as, like, what we have is in order to unlock our mobile phone, we use some sort of, like, pattern recognition, or majorly we use some, like, face recognition. That face recognition itself is a part of AI application, some sort of, like, CNN and all of that can be used there, and, like, you can come up with something like that. So knowingly or unknowingly, I'm not talking at a professional level. I'm just talking at an individual level, at a personal level. Already the individual started experiencing, like, what data science is, what AI is, right? So before we move on to, like, how can an organization leverage data science, I wanted to talk a bit about the applications of it. So I hope everyone is now a bit familiar with, like, what AI is, what data science is. So Tokir, if I ask you to summarize, what data science is in a sentence kind of thing, so what is the best way that you can do it?
For me, I would say that it's a way to get more efficient outputs from a
Fantastic.
set of parameters or from a set of inputs.
Okay, so but for everything, don't you think data is the basis? I mean to say, like, from some data which is there, you wanted to analyze it, you wanted to identify the patterns that you have in the data, and finally you wanted to come up with some sort of insights from the data, wherein as you were saying, like, the output can be much efficient kind of thing. So in a way, what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is data science is all about grabbing the historical data and doing some analysis on that with the help of some tools and all. Then maybe if the data is not in a format, like, in which you can readily use, then you have to perform some sort of data pre-processing. You have to prepare the data and all of that, and after that you have to identify the patterns, you need to generalize the patterns, and you need to come up with some sort of, like, machine learning models or, like, deep learning models which can be used for the future. So there are so many steps, there are so many phases which are involved in this. which we will discuss like, step by step going forward, right? And how can we do that at an organization level? So all those things we are going to look at. So is everything good, guys? Can we move on? Is there anyone who wants to talk, who wants to get the things clarified? So they can come on mic. I'm pausing here for a minute or two, so I can take up your questions and I can answer them. So is everyone clear in terms of like, what data science is? The kind of applications that I've discussed with you guys now, so are those clear, or you need more clarity on those things? Just let me know. Okay, silence, so I would take it as yes. So let me go forward. Okay, right, thank you so much. So everyone, what I'm trying to explain here is, nowadays, majority of the organizations, they are planning to set up like, their own data science centers, or like, they just wanted to have the data science wing. So what I'm trying to explain here is the fingerprints of data science are seemingly everywhere in business today. Even companies which are not traditionally grounded in advanced mathematics are realizing the value in tracking customers' digital trails. I mean to say, for example, you have a website, right? And you wanted to, track the footprints of your customers. I mean to say, what kind of search criteria they are, following, and like what kind of products they are searching for, and what kind of moves they are making and everything. So you wanted to have a track of like, their actions, and accordingly, you wanted to come up with some sort of recommendations for the customer. So every organization is focusing on, grabbing the what do you call digital, footprints of the customer. So that is a very basis for this, right? Now the next thing is, you must have heard a lot about these terms, right? Okay, such as big data, data science, machine learning, and of course, artificial intelligence. Have you heard about all these terms, okay, or anyone else in the session? You must have heard, right? Like, and you must be familiar with these words a bit, right? Am I right? Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Yes, then probably, when you were reading about the wonders AI is doing, and when you read about the wonders what big data is doing and all these things, at a point of time you must be really interested, or like you must be really wondered in terms of like how can I implement this in my day-to-day life activity? I mean to say, at my organization, can I make use of these things? So this is a very a basic question that comes to everybody's mind, that like when you hear about some technology, like when you're hearing about some technology, the very first question that comes to my mind is like how can I master it? How can I learn this? And what kind of applications I can build in my own organization with this technology? This is the very basic question that comes to everybody. But the thing is, you need to have a proper guidance, in terms of like which direction you have to head, so that you can implement it in a proper way, and you can make efficient use of it, right? So that's where we are heading. So you have probably even considered implementing one or more of these things in your own business processes, and you should. But the thing is like, how are you going to do this? So that's where I'm going to give some sort of like, insights into it, like, how can you make use of it? So before we get into that, as we were discussing, Taukir, as I told you, for everything, what is the basis? For everything, data is the basis, right? What is your understanding of data, Taukir? Can I, sorry to bother you, but I want to have someone like, who can be there in the session, who can talk to me and have a conversation with me, so that I can make it, like a very, conversational session kind of thing, interactive session. So Taukir, what's your take on data? What's data according to you?
So data for us, or data for me, is information that can help me come up with answers for problems that I'm trying to solve, or questions that I'm trying to answer.
That's fantastic. So according to you, data is nothing but some sort of information which is collected, right? Sorry, Taukir. Sorry for the interruption. Please go ahead. You're saying something.
Yeah, I was trying to say that, but not all data is good data. So for me, it's getting data and then understanding the quality of data, and then applying necessary filters or cleaning up the necessary data to get out.
That's fantastic. Yes. So you have answered my question, that like what is data, right? Then let's talk about like what kind of different data is available. I mean, it's what formats of data. For example, now we are in a WebEx webinar, right? So do you think some data is being generated here? Of course, right? if this session is recorded, we are trying to understand, if this session is being recorded, then we are trying to generate some sort of like, what do you call, like, speech data. I mean, so whatever I'm talking, whatever you are talking, people can analyze that data, and like, they can talk in terms of like, what is the subject they are talking about. And also when somebody is sending some messages across the chart, that becomes some sort of like, text data, right? And also like, at the traffic centers and at the junctions and all, when you have the video surveillance and everything that captures the images, or like, you might have a video footage, so that is also some sort of data. So what I'm trying to say is, data is essentially not in a very structured format, like in which we look at in the form of some CSV tables, or like, something like that. It could be in some unstructured way also. That could be some data which is related to the speech, that could be some data which is related to audio, video, or that could be something related to what do you call, like, the text data, images data, or if two people are like, having some sort of like, chat conversation. So even some meaningful insights can be drawn from that. So this is the different types of data that is being produced. And how about the volumes of this data, okay, that's very huge, right? I mean to say, on a day-to-day basis, at an individual level itself, like, an individual is providing like, generating a lot of data. Just imagine the situation, like, how much amount of data that what do you call, the supermarkets are producing, or any for instance, like, any organization producing, right? So for me, if an organization has to become a data driven organization, the very first thing that they have to understand is like, what kind of data they have to collect, what formats of the data they have to collect, and what are the different ways in which actually you can store your data, right? Gone are the days, like, when people used to store the data in what do you call, like, in not exactly in the cloud or something like that, right? I mean to say, they used to physically store the data, but with the volumes of the data that is being generated, people are moving from some physical locations and all of that to something called as cloud, right? Again, when it comes to setting up the databases and everything, again there are like what do you call, like traditional databases that you have, and along with that nowadays no SQL databases, so everything. So very important thing, what an organization should focus on is like they have to understand what kind of databases they have to set up, and also what kind of employees they have to take into consideration, so that people can manage the databases, and also they can extract some data from the databases, right? And also have you ever heard something about the data engineer role, okay? The role of the
Yes.
engineer, right?
Yeah.
What do they do? Basically they are responsible for building the data pipelines, and they are the right people to give you some data in the processed form, like maybe if you have heterogeneous data, bringing that into a single format, like wherein the data analyst or the data scientist can like go forward and do some analysis on it, and like come up with some sort of insight. So with respect to the data, what I'm trying to explain here is, you need to understand what kind of data that you have to collect, and also how to store the data, and also how to extract the data when you need it, and also what kind of data pipeline should be built. So that's where you can talk to the data engineers and get some insights from that, is what I'm trying to say. So are we clear in terms of this slide, okay, or you have any questions? Anyone else in the session who wants to come on mic and talk to me, you're very much welcome, right? So the very crucial step, or the first step rather, I would say, to any successful data science project is data. Data is the essence of data science, right? After all, it's right there in the name. And in a world of ever increasing volumes of information, it's vital that we find fast and efficient ways of storing, processing, and analyzing data before we can even begin to model, predict, and learn. So what I'm trying to say is, if you wanted to become a data scientist or an AI engineer and data analyst, first you need to have proper understanding of like databases, how those are built, and like what kind of information gets stored there, and how do you extract the data from the databases. I mean to say, how do you pull it from the databases? So all that information is very, very, very important. And also at times, not at times, majority of the times, you have to be in touch with the data engineers in terms of understand the data storage and the management, right? So that you can plan it properly going forward. So Taukir, are we clear in terms of this slide, what it is trying to teach here?
Yeah, I think
are you
so.
clear? Great, that's fantastic. And the next step is, have you ever heard about big data? Big data in the sense, the data which is humongous kind of thing, like which has got lots of variety, lots of volume, and lots of veracity and all these things, right? So big data is a term like, which is trending in the industry for the past, I would say a decade kind of thing, or like, little lesser than a decade. Okay. So what is this big data? Any idea, okay?
For me, these are large data sets which allow
These
for
are large data sets.
Yeah, which allow for better analysis, but it's not necessarily like one database table with a thousand columns. This is bringing data from multiple places, multiple sources together to then analyze differently, better, using data visualizations or using dashboards and things.
Great. Right. So the importance of big data, as I was saying, like, you can just use many tools like, big data, Hadoop. You can go for like, Apache, Kafka, Spark, and all these things to, understand the data and also to analyze the data, right? So we should also thank artificial intelligence, because this has been helping the people in terms of, analyzing the big data and like, coming up with some sort of meaningful insights, right? So here is some factual information. More and more businesses are opening their doors to the possibility of big data and unlocking its power. In fact, big data has led to a 12 to 17% in reduced healthcare spending against a $2.6 trillion baseline of America's healthcare costs. So it is just trying to give us some sort of information, like how the healthcare in the America is benefited by using big data solutions, right? So that's what they're trying to say. And let's move on to the next one. What are the different ways in which an organization can leverage data science in their business? The very first thing is, there is a lot of complex information which is available for an organization. So what we can do is communicating complex insights through data visualizations, maybe by using, some Python packages like, Plotly, Bokeh, and other things, or else you can use some business intelligence tools like, Tableau, Power BI, and other things. And also the next thing is you can make better decisions by analyzing the historical data. Every organization is having a lot of historical data, right? And if you want to analyze that, you have to have good understanding of like, statistics and all of that. And after that, in every organization, there is somebody called as an SME or like, a subject matter expert or domain expert kind of thing, right? But, when you are trying to analyze the data and when you are trying to get some insights from the data, this will complement, what a subject matter expert is doing is something which you can do. And finally, with the data which is available, for example, consider some automobile industry, automobile, company, let's assume, and they have got lots of data. What they can do is they can analyze all this data from the historical data and all of that. And what they can do is they can do some sort of predictions, like, what is going to happen in the future, what will be the demand for the spare parts and all of that, so that they can maintain their inventory in a proper way. So these are the different ways in which an organization can leverage data science. And now let's talk about some applications of data science in business. Using machine learning. Machine learning is where we are trying to replicate the machines, what actually humans are doing exactly, like in the process of decision making and all. So the business operations can be optimized, or you can revamp the business operations with the help of some machine learning. And also nowadays, for every organization, customer experience plays a vital role. So there you can use some sort of like deep learning technology or something, by analyzing the data, coming up with some sort of insights, predicting something. So you can give your customers some unique experience. And also one more thing is, nowadays majority of the organizations are moving from something called as intuitive based decision to the data driven decisions. So that's where you can use some sort of predictive analytics to understand from the previous data what has happened and what might happen in the future. So that way you can make use of predictive analytics for data driven decisions. And the next thing is recommendation engine. Tawkir, have you ever heard about the recommendation engines? For example, when you are opening some Amazon or Flipkart websites, there you keep on getting the recommendations and all, right? Like which products might grab your attention and all those things. So if a company wants to come up with a proper brand image and all of that, definitely they can make use of this recommendation engine. So these are of course there are plenty of applications of data science in the business, but these are few applications like which are majorly used in the industry. Are we clear, guys? Are we clear about this? Okay. You clear?
One question. So in terms of recommendation engines, how do those recommendations get constructed ultimately? What is the
There are
background?
Yes, I would explain it actually, but that's little out of the scope for this particular session, because this session is not meant to be a technical session, but still I can give you some sort of understanding over there. I mean to say there are what do you call content based recommendations that will be given to you. For example, let's consider some particular book, like which you have purchased recently on Amazon. Then in the next time, then the next time, like when you're trying to come onto the website, it gives you all the recommendations which fall into that particular genre, or it will try to give you some sort of like recommendations based on what you call that particular author. This is something like that, and also it works something on the collaborative basis also. And also if there is a user and if there is another user, actually it will try to do some sort of find out the similarity between both the users. Whatever the user A is liking, if there is more similarity between them, whatever user A is reading, it will try to recommend the same thing to user B, kind of thing. So there are multiple ways in which actually recommendation engines can be constructed. But for now, okay, that's little out of the scope for today's session. So that's more into the technical side of it. Right, I'll let you know how to explore that. So now the next thing is, now we are done with how to leverage data science in business or in our organization. Now the next part is like how do you have to leverage data scientists? Okay, so for example, if you are a data scientist in an organization, basically you don't really show some interest in doing some sort of like routine work kind of thing. So the organization should also stop this attrition of like data scientists moving from one organization to another organization, right? And also for example, being a data scientist, you found some sort of like meaningful insight, and you want to communicate that, and like you wanted to take some very quick decision. If it is a very big MNC kind of thing, then if the decision, in order for the decisions to take place and all, it takes a lot of time actually. So in the meanwhile, the data scientist might lose the interest in what do you call researching further and all these things. So what I'm trying to explain here is, nowadays, including myself, majority of the data scientists are showing interest in working with the startups rather than with the MNCs, because the kind of like flattened structure that we have in the startups, like there is no bigger hierarchy kind of thing and all these things. So you should also understand how to leverage a data scientist. So let's try to discuss a bit about that. One of the reasons many data scientists like to work in startups goes to the flatness of the organization, the speed of decision making, and the degree to which people are integrated with one another. I mean to say, like if you're working in teams, if it is a larger team, then you don't get to integrate with other people. But if it's a very short team kind of small team kind of thing, then you get to integrate with the people. So that is one reason. And most big companies today want to become more agile in nature, and a data scientist plugged in the right spot is going to be able to contribute more directly to the business that one who is kept at a distance from the decision maker. So what I'm trying to explain here is, always you have to make the data scientists the decision makers, or else you have to keep them very close to the people who can make the decision. So this hierarchy hassle should not be there. So that's how you can retain a data scientist, or like that's how you can leverage a data scientist in your organization. That is what I'm trying to say. Tawkir, are you understanding what I'm trying to say, and other people? Right. So there are like 5 tips for attracting and retaining the data scientist. The very first thing is, you should let a data scientist invent. Actually, I mean to say, a data scientist is the one who is having who is already thirsty for some sort of what do you call invention and all these things. So you should give them a free hand in terms of inventing. And also you have to involve the leaders at the right stage of the projects. Not at every stage the intervention of the leader should be there. So you should understand like at what step you have to involve the leaders. And the next thing is, let the data scientists think out of the box. Let them not go in a monotonous way. Don't force them to go in a regular way kind of thing. Let them have a free hand in terms of exploring the new things. And also you have to cross train your data scientists. Probably you brought them for some purpose, then try to introduce them to like some other domain, and try to make use of them over there and all these things. And also you should help a data scientist to adopt a broader business mindset. So these are the 5 tips using which an organization can leverage the data scientists, right? I hope we are clear about it. Fantastic. And the next thing that you have to do is you have to democratize data science in your organizations, right? What I'm trying to explain here is, for example, you have all the tools and you have some data scientists. Do you think that will suffice? No. What you need to do is you have to build some sort of data culture in your organization. So how can you do that? You can focus on the problems with the highest level of strategic benefit, which are of highest strategic benefit to you, and you have to reprioritize data science efforts and reassign data scientists. Are you understanding that? That should be a continuous process. And the next thing is develop and communicate a broad vision of data science. I mean to say, you should keep on talking to the people, the stakeholders in the organization, and you should keep on communicating a broad vision of data science to everybody. So that's how, or that's when you can democratize data science in your organization. And the next thing is, all these efforts we are trying to put to make an organization data driven, right? So evidently, making the steps towards becoming data driven unlocks many potential benefits for an organization. So what we recommend is to become a data driven organization for every company kind of thing. I mean to say, you might have a question like, how do we make it? Well, there are many POCs, there are many use cases that are there. So what I request is the organizations to make use of those low hanging fruit data cases, where the functional teams can start applying it together, right? So that's how actually you can become a data driven organization, right? With the points which we have discussed earlier, right? That's where KnowledgeHut wants to bring in some change, and that's where KnowledgeHut wants to lend a helping hand to the organization in terms of becoming a data driven organization. Then the next question that you might have is, how are you going to do that? As I told you, there are multiple stages in which actually a data science project happens, right from setting up the databases, building the data pipelines, then analyzing the data, then building some sort of AI models or machine learning models on it, and finally deploying them on the cloud kind of thing. So by keeping all these things in mind, we have designed multiple courses, various courses here, which are ranging from data analysis. If you look at our data analysis, that would help you guys understand the databases and how to do the data analysis using SQL, Excel, and Python kind of thing, wherein you can just make your employees go through that particular course, so that they can understand all these things, and they will become industry ready when they go through that course. What I'm trying to say is, towards the end of this data analysis course, they will become right, what do you call, they will become ready for performing all these tasks, is what I'm trying to say. And also we have data science course, we have data engineer course, and we also have AI engineer course. So that's how you can become a data driven organization, guys. Thank you so much, and if you have any questions, I'm here to take up.
So thank you, Aravind, for your time today. At the moment, Fahim, I see you're still there, and I'm not sure if you're listening to us. If you have any questions, please do let us know.
No, I don't have any questions. It was a wonderful session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you so much, Aravind, for taking time and conducting this webinar.
Pleasure is all mine. Thanks a lot, Bhagyashree. Thanks.